The Urantia Book Foreword, or in with the Father, also known as introduction. I have read myself the foreword, and I said to the Father, actually it would be more suitable to call it introduction into the Urantia book. So with this said, introduction into the Urantia book. This will be several parts, I think 2 or 3, depends on, but at least this is part 1. In the minds of the mortals of Urantia, that being the name of your world, there exists great confusion respecting the meaning of such terms as God, divinity, and deity. Human beings are still more confused and uncertain about the relationship of the divine personalities, designated by these numerous appellations. Because of this conceptual poverty associated with so much ideational confusion, I have been directed to formulate this introductory statement in explanation of the meanings which should be attached to certain word symbols, as they may be hereinafter used in those papers which the Orvonton Corps of Truth Revealers have been authorized to translate into the English language of Urantia. And who is the I that is referring here, is mentioned here? The I refers to indicted by an Orvonton divine counselor, chief of the corps of super-universe personalities assigned to portray on Urantia the truth concerning the paradise deities and the universe of universes. So that is the I. It is exceedingly difficult to present enlarged concepts and advanced truth in our endeavor to expand cosmic consciousness and enhance spiritual perception when we are restricted to the use of a circumscribed language of the realm. But our mandate admonishes us to make every effort to convey our meanings by using the word symbols of the English tongue. We have been instructed to introduce new terms only when the concept to be portrayed finds no terminology in English, when can be employed to convey such a new concept partially or even with more or less distortion of meaning. In the hope of facilitating comprehension and of preventing confusion on the part of every mortal who may peruse these papers, we deem it wise to present in this initial statement an outline of the meanings to be attached to numerous English words which are to be employed in designation of deity and certain associated concepts of the things, meanings and values of universal realities, of universal reality. But in order to formulate this foreword/introduction of definitions and limitations of terminology, it is necessary to anticipate the usage of these terms in the subsequent presentations. This foreword is not therefore a finished statement or introduction. So I say it again. This foreword/introduction is not therefore a finished statement within itself. It is only a definitive guide designed to to assist those who shall read the accompanying papers dealing with deity and the universe of universes, which have been formulated by an Orvonton commission sent to Urantia for this purpose. Your world, Urantia, is one of many similar inhabited planets which comprise the local universe of Nebadon. This universe, together with similar creations, makes up the super-universe of Orvonton, from whose capital, Uversa, our commission hails. Orvonton is one of the 7 evolutionary super-universes of time and space which circle the never-beginning, never-ending creation of divine perfection, the central universe of Havona. At the heart of this eternal and central universe is the stationary isle of Paradise, the geographic center of infinity and the dwelling place of the eternal God. The 7 evolving super-universes in association with the central and divine universe we commonly refer to as the grand universe. These are the now organized and inhabited creations. They are all a part of the master universe, which also embraces the uninhabited but mobilizing universes of outer space. 1. Deity and divinity. The universe of universes presents phenomena of deity activities on diverse levels of cosmic realities, mind meanings, and spirit values. But all of these ministrations, personal or otherwise, are divinely coordinated. Deity is personalizable as God is pre-personal and superpersonal in ways not altogether comprehensible by man. Deity is characterized by the quality of unity, actual or potential, on all supermaterial levels of reality. And this unifying quality is best comprehended by creatures as divinity. Deity functions on personal, pre-personal, and superpersonal levels. Total deity is functional on the following 7 levels. 1. Static, self-contained and self-existent deity. 2. Potential, self-willed and self-purposive deity. 3. Associative, self-personalized and divinely fraternal deity. 4. Creative, self-distributive and divinely revealed deity. 5. Evolutional, self-expansive and creature-identified deity. 6. Supreme, self-experiential and creature-creator unifying deity. Deity functioning on the first creature identificational levels as time, space, and over-controllers, better said, as time-space over-controllers of the grand universe, sometimes designated the supremacy of deity. 7. Ultimate, self-projected and time-space transcending deity. Deity omnipotent, omniscient and omnipresent. Deity functioning on the second level of unifying divinity expression as effective overcontrollers and absolute upholders of the master universe, as compared with the ministry of the deities to the grand universe. This absolute function in the master universe is tantamount to universal overcontrol and supersustenance, sometimes called the ultimacy of deity. The finite level of reality is characterized by creature life and time-space limitations. Finite realities may not have endings, but they always have beginnings. They are created. The deity level of supremacy may be conceived as a function in relation to finite existences. The absolute level of reality is characterized by things and beings without beginnings or endings, and by the transcendence of time and space. Absoluters are not created, they are eventuated. They simply are. The deity level of ultimacy connotes a function in relation to absolute realities, no matter in what part of the master universe. Whenever time and space are transcendent, such an absolute phenomenon is an act of the ultimacy of deity. Absolute is a state that is in between eternal and finite. The absolute level is beginningless, endless, timeless, and spaceless. For example, on paradise, time and space are non-existent. The time-space status of paradise is absolute. This level is Trinity attained existentially by the paradise deities. But this third level of unifying deity expression is not fully unified experientially. Whenever, wherever, and however the absolute level of deity functions, paradise absolute values and meanings are manifest. Deity may be existential as in the eternal Son, experiential as in the Supreme Being, associative as in God the Sevenfold, undivided as in the Paradise Trinity. Deity is the source of all that which is divine. Deity is characteristically and invariably divine, but all that which is divine is not necessarily deity, though it will be coordinated with deity and will tend towards some phase of unity with deity, spiritual and mindal or personal. Divinity is the characteristic unifying and coordinating quality of deity. Divinity is creature comprehensible as truth, beauty, and goodness, correlated in personality as love, mercy, and ministry, disclosed on impersonal levels as justice, power, and sovereignty. Divinity may be perfect, complete as an existential and creator levels of paradise perfection. It may be imperfect as on experiential and creator creature levels, of time space evolution, or it may be relative, neither perfect nor imperfect as on certain Havona levels of existential experiential relationships. When we attempt to conceive of perfection in all phases and forms of relativity, we encounter 7 conceivable types. 1. Absolute perfection in all aspects. 2. Absolute perfection in some phases and relative perfection in all other aspects. And 3. Absolute, relative and imperfect aspects in varied association. 4. Absolute perfection in some respects, imperfection in all others. 5. Absolute perfection in no direction, relative perfection in all manifestations. 6. Absolute perfection in no phase, relative in some, imperfect in others. And 7. Absolute perfection in no attribute and imperfection in all. And again, all this is just an introduction into the coming papers that is all about the central universe and super universes, and the second part, the local universe. 2. God. Evolving mortal creatures experience an irresistible urge to symbolize their finite concepts of God. Man's consciousness of moral duty and his spiritual idealism represents a value level, an experiential reality which is difficult of symbolization. Cosmic consciousness implies the recognition of a first cause, the one and only uncaused reality. God, the Universal Father, functions on 3 deity personality levels of sub-infinite value and relative divinity expression. 1. Pre-personal, as in the ministry of the Father, fragments such as the thought adjusters. 2. Personal, as in the evolutionary experience of created and procreated beings. 3. Super-personal, as in the eventuated existences of certain absonite and associated beings. God is a word symbol, designating all personalizations of deity. The term requires a different definition on each personal level of deity function and must be still further redefined within each of these levels, as this term may be used to designate the diverse coordinate and subordinate personalizations of deity, for example, the paradise creator sons, the local universe fathers. The term God, as we make use of it, may be understood by designation as God the Father, and by context, as when used in the discussion of some one deity level or association. When in doubt as to the exact interpretation of the word God, it would be advisable to revert it to the person of the Universal Father. So actually you can also say those who want to go by the true name of God, the Father, then it is the Universal Father. The term God always denotes personality, deity, may or may not refer to divinity personalities. The word God is used in these papers with the following meanings. 1. God the Father, as creator, controller, and upholder, the universal Father, the first person of deity. 2. God the Son, coordinate, creator, spirit controller, and spiritual administrator, the eternal Son, the second person of deity. And 3. God the Spirit, conjoint actor, also known as the infinite spirit, universal integrator, and mind, bestower, the infinite spirit, the third person of deity. 4. God the Supreme, the actualization or evolving God of time and space, personal deity associatively realizing the time-space experiential achievement of creature-creator identity. The Supreme Being is personally experiencing the achievement of deity unity as the evolving and experiential God of the evolutionary creatures of time and space. 5. God the Sevenfold, deity personality anywhere actually functioning in time and space, the personal paradise deities and their creative associates. The personal paradise deities and their creative associates functioning in and beyond the borders of the central universe, and power personalizing as the Supreme Being on the first creature level of unifying deity. Revelation in time and space. This level, the grand universe, is the sphere of the time-space descension of paradise, personalities in reciprocal association with the time-space ascension of evolutionary creatures. 6. God the Ultimate, the eventuating God of supertime and transcended space, the second experiential level of unifying deity manifestation. God the Ultimate implies the attained realization of the synthesized absolute superpersonal time-space transcended and eventuated experiential values, coordinated on final creative levels of deity reality. And last, 7. God the Absolute, the experientializing God of transcended super-personal values and divinity meanings. Now existential as the deity absolute. This is the third level of unifying deity expression and expansion. On this super-creative level, deity experiences exhaustion of personalizable potential, encounters completion of divinity, and undergoes depletion of capacity for self-revelation to successive and progressive levels of other personalization. Deity now encounters, impinges upon, and experiences identity with the unqualified absolute. 3. The first source and center. Total infinite reality is existential in 7 phases and as 7 coordinate absolutes. 1. The first source and center. 2. The second source and center. 3. The third source and center. 4. The Isle of Paradise. 5. The deity absolute. 6. The universal absolute. 7. The unqualified absolute. God as the first source and center is primal in relation to total reality, unqualifiedly. The first source and center is infinite as well as eternal and is therefore limited or conditioned only by volition. God the Universal Father is the personality of the first source and center, and as such maintains personal relations of infinite control over all coordinate and subordinate sources and centers. Such control is personal and infinite in potential, even though it may never actually function, owing to the perfection of the function of such coordinate and subordinate sources and centers and personalities. The first source and center is therefore primal in all domains, deified or undeified, personal or impersonal, actual or potential, finite or infinite. No thing or being, no relativity or finality exists except in direct or indirect relation to and dependence on the primacy of the first source and center. The first source and center is related to the universe as 1. The gravity forces of the material universes are convergent in the gravity center of neither paradise. That is just why the geographic location of his person is eternally fixed in absolute relation to the force energy center of the neither or material plane of paradise, but the absolute personality of deity exists on the upper or spiritual plane of paradise. 2. The mind forces are convergent in the infinite spirit, the differential and divergent cosmic mind in the 7 master spirits, the factualizing mind of the Supreme as a time-space experience in Majeston. 3. The universe spirit forces are convergent in the eternal Sun. And 4. The unlimited capacity for deity action resides in the deity absolute. 5. The unlimited capacity for infinity response exists in the unqualified absolute. 6. The 2 absolutes, qualified and unqualified, are coordinated and unified in and by the universal absolute. 7. The potential personality of an evolutionary moral being or of any other moral being is centered in the personality of the Universal Father. Reality, as comprehended by finite beings, is partial, relative, and shadowy. The maximum deity, reality fully comprehensible by evolutionary finite creatures, is embraced within the Supreme Being. Nevertheless, there are antecedent and eternal realities, superfinite realities, which are ancestral to this supreme deity of evolutionary time, space creatures. In attempting to portray the origin and nature of universal reality, we are forced to employ the technique of time-space reasoning in order to reach the level of the finite mind. Therefore, must many of the simultaneous events of eternity be presented as sequential transactions, as a time-space creature would view the origin and differentiation of reality, the eternal and infinite I Am, achieved deity liberation from the fetters of unqualified infinity through the exercise of inherent and eternal free will. And this divorcement from unqualified infinity produced the first absolute divinity tension. This tension is of infinity differential, is resolved by the universal absolute, which functions to unify and coordinate the dynamic infinity of total deity and the static infinity of the unqualified absolute. In this original transaction, the theoretical I Am achieved the realization of personality by becoming the eternal Father of the original Son simultaneously with becoming the eternal source of the Isle of Paradise, coexistent with the differentiation of the Son from the Father. And in the presence of paradise, there appeared the person of the infinite spirit and the central universe of Havona, with the appearance of coexistent personal deity, the eternal Son, and the infinite spirit. The Father escaped as a personality from otherwise inevitable diffusion throughout the potential of total deity. Thenceforth, it is only in Trinity association with his two deity equals that the Father fills all deity potential, while increasingly experiential deity is being actualized on the divinity levels of supremacy, ultimacy, and absoluteness. The concept of the I Am is a philosophic concession which we make to the time-bound, space-fettered, finite mind of man, to the impossibility of creature comprehension of eternity existences, non-beginning, non-ending realities and relationships. To the time-space creature, all things must have a beginning, save only the one uncaused, the primeval cause of causes. Therefore do we conceptualize this philosophic value level as the I Am, as the same time in instructing all creatures that the eternal Son and the infinite Spirit are co-eternal with the Father of the Son and with him of the Spirit. The infinite is used to denote the fullness, the finality implied by the philosophic extension of infinity of will. But the infinite is an actual value level representing the eternity intention of the true infinity of the absolute and unfettered free will of the universal Father. This concept is sometimes designated the Father Infinite. Much of the confusion of all orders of beings, high and low, in their efforts to discover the Father Infinite is inherent in their limitations of comprehension. The absolute primacy of the Universal Father is not apparent on sub-infinite levels. Therefore, is it probable that only the Eternal Son and the Infinite Spirit truly know the Father as an infinity. To all other personalities, such a concept represents the exercise of faith. And then 4, I go to 6, so it will be, because it's 12 sub-chapters. 4, universe reality. Reality differentially actualizes on diverse universe levels. Reality originates in and by the infinite volition of the Universal Father and is realizable in 3 primal phases on many different levels of the universe actualization. 1. Undeified reality ranges from the energy domains of the non-personal to the reality realms of the non-personalizable values of universal existence, even to the presence of the unqualified absolute. 2. Deified reality embraces all infinite deity potentials ranging upward through all realms of personality from the lowest finite to the highest infinite, thus encompassing the domain of all that which is personalizable and more, even to the presence of the deity absolute. And then 3. Inter-associated reality. Universe reality is supposedly either deified or undeified, but to sub-deified beings there exists a vast domain of inter-associated reality, potential and actualizing, which is difficult of identification. Much of this coordinate reality is embraced within the realms of the universal absolute. This is the primal concept of original reality. The Father initiates and maintains reality. The primal differentials of reality are the deified and the undeified. The deity absolute and the unqualified absolute. The primal relationship is the tension between them. This Father-initiated divinity tension is perfectly resolved by and eternalizes as the universal absolute. From the viewpoint of time and space, reality is further divisible as 1. Actual and potential. Realities existing in fullness of expression in contrast to those which carry undisclosed capacity for growth. The eternal Son is an absolute spiritual actuality. Mortal man is very largely an unrealized spiritual potentiality. 2. Absolute and sub-absolute. Absolute realities are eternity, existence. Sub-absolute realities are projected on two levels. Absolutes, realities which are relative with respect to both time and eternity. Finites, realities which are projected in space and are actualized in time. 3. Existential and experiential. Paradise deity is existential, but the emerging, supreme, and ultimate are experiential. 4. Personal and impersonal. Deity expansion, personality, expression, and universe evolution are forever conditioned by the Father's free will act, which forever separated the mind, spirit, personal meanings, and values of actuality and potentiality, centering in the eternal Son from those things which center and inhere in the eternal Isle of Paradise. Paradise is a term inclusive of the personal and the non-personal focal absolutes of all phases of universe reality. Paradise, properly qualified, may connote any and all forms of reality. Deity, divinity, personality, and energy, spiritual, mindal, or material, all share paradise as the place of origin, function, and destiny as regards values, meanings, and factual existence. The Isle of Paradise not otherwise qualified is the absolute of the material gravity control of the first source and center. Paradise is motionless, being the only stationary thing in the universe of universes. The Isle of Paradise has a universe location but no position in space. This eternal isle is the actual source of the physical universes, past, present, and future. The nuclear isle of light is a deity derivative, but it is hardly deity. Neither are the material creations a part of deity. They are a consequence. Paradise is not a creator. It is a unique controller of many universe activities, far more of a controller than a reactor. Throughout the material universes, Paradise influences the reactions and conduct of all beings having to do with force, energy, and power. But Paradise itself is unique, exclusive, and isolated in the universes. Paradise is and represents Paradise represents nothing, and nothing represents paradise. It is neither a force nor a presence. It is just paradise. 5. Personality realities. Personality is a level of deified reality and ranges from the mortal and midwayer level of the higher mind, activation of worship and wisdom, up through the morontial and spiritual to the attainment of finality of personality status. That is the evolutionary ascent of mortal and kindred creature personality. But there are numerous other orders of universe personalities. Reality is subject to universal expansion, personality to infinite diversification, and both are capable of well-nigh unlimited deity coordination and eternal stabilization, while the metamorphic range of non-personal reality is definitely limited. We know of no limitations to the progressive evolution of personality realities. On attained experiential levels, all personality orders or values are associable and even co-creational. Even God and man can coexist in a unified personality. This is exactly what Jesus has become and has showed us by fusing his human nature with the nature of God that was in him, as is so exquisitely demonstrated in the present status of Christ Michael, Son of Man and Son of God. All sub-infinite orders and phases of personality are associative attainables and are potentially co-creational. The pre-personal, the personal, and the superpersonal are all linked together by mutual potential of coordinate attainment. Progressive achievement and co-creational capacity, but never does the impersonal directly transmute to the personal. Personality is never spontaneous. It is the gift of the Paradise Father. Personality is superimposed upon energy, and it is associated only with living energy systems. Identity can be associated with non-living energy patterns. The Universal Father is the secret of the reality of personality, the bestowal of personality, and the destiny of personality. The Eternal Son is the absolute personality, the secret of spiritual energy. Morontia spirits and perfected spirits. The conjoined actor or infinite spirit is the spirit mind personality, the source of intelligence, reason, and the universal mind. But the Isle of Paradise is non-personal and extra-spiritual, being the essence of the universal body, the source and center of physical matter, and the absolute master pattern of universal material reality. These qualities of universal reality are manifest in Urantian human experience on the following levels. 1. The body or physical organism of man, the living electrochemical mechanisms of animal, nature and origin. 2. Mind, the thinking, perceiving and feeling mechanism of the human organism, the total conscious and unconscious experience, the intelligence associated with the emotional life reaching upward through worship and wisdom to the spirit level. 3. Spirit, the divine spirit that indwells the mind of man, the thought adjuster. This immortal spirit is pre-personal, not a personality, though destined to become a part of the personality of the surviving mortal creature. 4. Soul. The soul of man is an experiential acquirement. As a mortal creature chooses to do the will of the Father in heaven, so the indwelling spirit becomes the Father of a new reality in human experience. The mortal and material mind is the mother of this same emerging reality. The substance of this new reality is neither material nor spiritual. It is morontial. This is the emerging and immortal soul, which is destined to survive mortal death and begin the paradise ascension. So this is the reason why we got born in this realm known as mortality. We are here making our first step on our long ascension path. And this is also the reason behind all these sinister and evil agendas that are being rolled out for hundreds of years now. The main goal of all these agendas and achievements done by all those whom have grown dark and evil in their heart, mind and soul is to make sure that our soul will not evolve. And if we start to understand this, then we start to understand all and everything that is happening in this world nowadays. And not only nowadays, but for a long time. And another thing also is that I need to add here is that we are still overcoming the last pieces of the Lucifer rebellion, done by those that could be descendants of those whom have worked for Lucifer, whom have worked for Satan, whom have worked for Caligustia, and whom have worked for Daligustia. And Daligustia is the right hand of Caligustia. Caligustia was our former planetary prince. This function has been taken over by a vicegerent known by the name Makiventa Melchizedek. Until the time is there that Christ Michael, as we know of as Jesus of Nazareth, seems fit to take it over, and then he becomes our planetary prince. Personality. The personality of mortal man is neither body, mind, nor spirit. Neither is it the soul. Personality is the one changeless reality in an otherwise ever-changing creature experience, and it unifies all other associated factors of individuality. The personality is the unique bestowal which the universal Father makes upon the living and associated energies of matter, mind, and spirit, and which survives with the survival of the morontial soul. Morontia is a term designated a fast level intervening between the material and the spiritual. It may designate personal or impersonal realities, living or non-living energies. The warp of Morontia is spiritual. Its woof is physical. And then the last of the 12 subchapters, subchapter 6, energy and pattern. Any and all things responding to the personality circuit of the Father we call personal. Any and all things responding to the spirit circuit of the Son we call spirit. Any and all that responds to the mind circuit of the conjoined actor or infinite spirit we call mind. Mind as an attribute of the infinite spirit. Mind in all its phases. Any and all that responds to the material gravity circuit, centering in neither paradise, we call matter, energy matter, in all its metamorphic states. Energy we use as an all-inclusive term applied to spiritual, mindal and material realms. Force is also thus broadly used. Power is ordinarily limited to the designation of the electronic level of material or linear gravity responsive matter in the grand universe. Power is also employed to designate sovereignty. We cannot follow your generally accepted definitions of force, energy and power. There is such paucity of language that we must assign multiple meanings to these terms. Physical energy is a term denoting all phases and forms of phenomenal motion, action and potential. In discussing physical energy manifestations, we generally use the terms cosmic force, emergent energy, and universe power. These are often employed as follows. 1. Cosmic force embraces all energies deriving from the unqualified absolute, but which are as yet unresponsive to paradise gravity. 2. Emergent energy embraces those energies which are responsive to paradise gravity, but are as yet unresponsive to local or linear gravity. This is the pre-electronic level of energy matter. 3. Universe power includes all forms of energy which, while still responding to paradise gravity, are directly responsive to linear gravity. This is the electronic level of energy dash matter and all subsequent evolutions thereof. Mind is a phenomenon connoting the presence activity of living ministry in addition to varied energy systems, and this is true on all levels of intelligence. In personality, mind ever intervenes between spirit and matter, therefore is the universe illuminated by three kinds of light: material light, intellectual insight and spirit luminosity. Light dash spirit luminosity is a word symbol, a figure of speech which connotes the personality, manifestation, characteristic of spirit beings of diverse orders. This luminous emanation is in no respect related either to intellectual insight or to physical light manifestations. Pattern can be projected as material, spiritual, or mindal, or any combination of these energies. It can pervade personalities, identities, entities, or non-living matter. But pattern is pattern and remains pattern. Only copies are multiplied. Pattern may configure energy, but it does not control it. Gravity is the sole control of energy matter. Neither space nor pattern are gravity responsive, but there is no relationship between space and pattern. Space is neither pattern nor potential pattern. Pattern is a configuration of reality which has already paid all gravity debt. The reality of any pattern consists of its energies, its mind, spirit, or material components. In contrast to the aspect of the total, pattern discloses the individual aspect of energy and of personality. Personality or identity forms are patterns resultant from energy, physical, spiritual, or mindal, but are not inherent therein. That quality of energy or of personality by virtue of which pattern is caused to appear may attribute it to God, deity. To paradise force endowment, to the coexistence of personality and power. Pattern is a master design from which copies are made. Eternal paradise is the absolute of patterns. This means that the world we live in, Urantia, is a world that is created after the pattern from which paradise also stems from. So it's created according the pattern of paradise. Eternal paradise is the absolute of patterns. The eternal Son is the pattern personality. The universal Father is the direct ancestor source of both. But paradise does not bestow pattern, and the Son cannot bestow personality. Only the Father can. Alright, with this said, we have come to the first part of reading this introduction / foreword into the Urantia book. The next time we start with the Supreme Being. So let all this sink in. Eventually, when we proceed into the first section and second section of this book, it will become more clear. This is really an introduction into the first and second section of this book, where all this terminology is being used. So they are giving us an introduction into the terminology that they have used in section 1 and 2 of the Urantia book. that is all about the central and super universes and the local universe, and how they are being created, the beings that are in there. And there must be said that the beings that are mentioned in this Urantia book are not all the beings that are active in the central universe, that are active in the super universes, and that are active in the local universes. There are so many beings that if they would eventually would give us a picture of all the beings, that would be at least 2 volumes of 2,000 pages. So many beings are there. At least that 2 volumes can be far more than that. So they didn't do this. Alright, thank you so much for listening to this first part of the foreword slash introduction. And I would highly advise you to buy yourselves a copy of the Urantia book itself, and to start reading it yourself too, and to find yourself a study group, which you can find through the urantiafoundation.org website, because a study group can tremendously beneficial when you are reading through the book. Alright, again, thank you so much for listening, and God bless you.